have Enni Amanda here with me. Enni, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being able to join me today.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
So, I have an important question. It's kind of an icebreaker question I like to always ask people at the beginning. Are you more of a cat or a dog person?
Oh, that should be an easy one, right? But we don't have pets at the moment, and I've never had a cat or a dog, and I'm more of a bird person, if that makes sense. I had
Okay.
parrots when I was a kid, and I did look after a dog last year, and she really grew on me. She was a very excited Labrador. we that came with this house that we were house sitting. So, uh, yeah, for the sake of diva, I'd say I'm now a dog person.
A dog
Yeah.
person? Okay, well, I have to ask
Hard.
about
That's
parrots
a
then.
hard one though.
You had
But
parrots. What was that like? Did you teach them words?
I tried to, but I think they were a little bit too old when we got them. So they just kind of talked to each other, and then started to kind of imitate the birds outside the window. So they sounded like a lot of other birds, but never really, yeah, never made any kind of human sounds,
Okay.
unfortunately.
I've always wondered if I was ever to try to get a bird like a parrot or something, if I could teach it words. I always think it would be cool to like teach it like intruder or something. If someone ever tried to break into my house, my parrot would
Yeah.
just protect me. But
Well, that was definitely my childhood dream, but I spent a lot of time just trying to talk to them.
that's
When I was like
incredible.
11 years old.
That's incredible. Well, to start off with, for people who maybe are not familiar with you, just kind of describe, who you are, who is Enni Amanda, where you live. Obviously, that's a big thing that for us doing a little challenging right now. Kind of just tell people about yourself.
Yes. My name is Enni. I am originally from Finland, and I grew up in Finland until I was 25 years old when we decided to move far, far away with my husband. And we ended up going to New Zealand. And that was kind of, we didn't have a plan, but somehow we stayed and we're still here 17 years later. so, so my life has been kind of split between these two countries that are rather inconveniently located the opposite ends of the earth. So yeah, we've done a lot of traveling, which is lovely, but sometimes you question like, well, yeah, why it had to go this way and why we're still here. But we tried to go back last year. We spent nearly the whole year, 9 months on the road, and kind of, yeah, living in a car and then house sitting that huge place with the dog and experienced life on that side of the globe again. And it was an eye-opening experience when you haven't been back to your home country that you left long time ago, and everyone's older and you're older and the country has changed, and but some things are still the same, like the weather is crap and yeah, things like that. And then we we kind of went back with an open mind, thinking like, well, if we can make it work, maybe we can move back there. But I I can't help it. I love New Zealand. I just can't stay away from it. I ended up back here and just love it. Yeah,
That's awesome.
that's me.
You said you travel a lot. What's the prettiest place that you've ever been to? I know it's a hard question because there's a lot of definitions of pretty, but if you had to pick,
Yeah, and
what would
there's
be your
still a lot
favorite
of
place that
places
you've
that I
been
haven't
to?
seen, so I can't like, yeah, I'm not a professional globetrotter in that sense, but um, I will still say that New Zealand ranks very high. Like it doesn't compare to anything that I've seen anywhere else. So yeah, I have to
That's awesome. I need
I
to
have to
visit.
just call
I've
it.
unfortunately never been across the pond or anywhere really even outside of the United States or Mexico. So I would like to one day get to travel and do that and say that I've seen a bunch of gorgeous countries
And
because
there's a lot in the US in itself. Like yeah, you do, just traveling around. Like we've done one road trip from we went from Washington D.C. To all the way to San Francisco. So kind of on the
road
sort of
tripping
north
across the
south through.
country.
Denver. Yeah. And then we went back to Las Vegas and then, yeah, back to LA. And it's, yeah, you see a lot
It's
on that
very
road.
different from West Coast to East Coast, that's for sure. I think, that's one fun
Yeah.
thing about how massive the United States is that you're able to see so many different things from, the
Yeah.
beaches down to Florida to even the beaches up in, Oregon and places. It's very different.
It is. It's like different. It is really just a collection of different countries. And to me now, like I think if you don't live in the US, you might kind of refer to it as this one entity, like, hey, that happened in the US. But I'm like, where in the US? Like, that doesn't narrow it down enough. And I don't, I don't like lumping it all together because it is really like, yeah, you, apples and oranges. You can't really,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, to talk about more of your book, I have your newest book that's about to come out here shortly, My Lucky Star. Tell us a little bit about this book in general and what you're excited for readers to dive into when they pick up this book.
Well, that's my. Can I swear here? I can't swear. Okay,
Go for it.
it's my.
I put it on YouTube and I make sure that it says not for children. You can say whatever you want.
Because
I
I
can beep
ended
it
up
out if I
calling
need
it
to.
my. I ended up calling it my book, the one that I wrote just the way I wanted. Like, this is what I wanted to experience. This is how, this is this is my own sort of escapist daydream of a book. Like, I wanted to have this experience because I'm in my 40s and I don't think I'm ever actually going to have an experience of falling in love with a Turkish TV star and having that sort of dizzy, swept off my feet experience. So I wanted to do it in a book, and that's my way of experiencing something that I cannot experience in any other way. So it is purely that kind of fantasy.
Mhm.
Like, it's not a fantasy genre, but I kind of feel like it's fantasy in that sense. But because I'm a deeply realistic person, I have to write it in the way that I can trick my brain into believing that this could be real, that this could really happen.
It's
Yeah.
incredible. So, for people who maybe haven't picked up this book yet, just a little bit about it. You have our two characters here. You have Arya, and then make sure I'm saying this right. Okay, is it Jem?
Gem.
Okay,
Gem.
so
Yeah.
he is our Turkish TV star, and then Arya meets him, and basically it's like a fake dating type of relationship that he needs her to pretend to be another Turkish TV star. And
Yes.
it's so good. I've absolutely loved it. I'm almost to the end, so I'm like, I tried. I was like, oh, I got to get to the end of this before, and I didn't finish it quite yet. And I'm loving. I mean, it is so good. I love their banter back and forth. It's incredible. And he's like, even from the beginning, the get go, he's like obsessed with her, and she's like, I don't trust you. I I'm a little bit wary. You're a TV star, and I love that about her. I think she's such a strong personality in this book. What was that like writing? Was it more of, I guess you said this was your fantasy book. Would you see
Yeah.
yourself how you wrote Arya, or maybe did you kind of completely put her off and you just created her out of your mind?
I had a friend of mine in mind who's a very, very funny woman. And I think I was kind of like started off channeling her and sort of like, what would she do? What would she say? How would she react if this was like, yeah, if this happened to her? But I think it always sort of melts with your own experience and your own personality. And yeah, I can definitely identify with Arya.
So for some of your other books, because you've written other books as well, do you find yourself pulling from people in your life typically as inspiration or people for your characters? Or do you like to just start from scratch and you just kind of create these characters in your mind?
I often start off with a person or couple of people in my life who share certain characteristics or false beliefs, or they're kind of like, that's often what drives a character, isn't it? They believe something about themselves or the world, or something that isn't actually true, and then their journey is to discover the truth of like what they've been lying to themselves about. So I think I often start with that, start with a person who I know is kind of thinking similarly. It's not often like other characteristics could be completely different, but there's the core of the person, the essence of what, like, how they relate to the world and other people and how they see themselves. And that's often the starting point. But I think once you start writing, because I'm a bit of a discovery writer, so I don't know exactly how it's going to go when I dive in. And then once you start writing, the characters become more and more sort of their own people, that you don't really necessarily connect them to the original source of inspiration anymore, but they grow into their own people. And then I go back to the beginning of the book and I rewrite in their voice to make sure that it's consistent throughout. And yeah, in the end, you come out with you finish a book and you're like, I know these people. They're like, they exist. They are real for me.
That's incredible. So for your writing process, kind of walk me through that. What's that like? You said that you kind of write just with what comes to your head. So I know I've talked to a few different authors now, and they kind of explained it to me that there's typically two different types of authors, how they go about things. You have plotters who they like kind of outline everything, and then you have people that just word vomit in a way, put everything down just as it comes to their brain. Would you describe yourself as in the second category, or do you like to plot a little bit too and write everything down?
I like the term discovery writer because it sounds better than there's the other term pantser that you've probably heard that's flying by the seat of your pants. Because because I am discovering it as I write, but I also have these sort of milestones there that I'm going towards, that I know that I'm going to get to. I just don't know exactly how, but I know that there's going to be a big moment, and I might even have a visual of it. I have like exactly the kind of like, sometimes I have the words that have to be spoken, but I have to get to them. So it's more like I'm discovering the route to that point. So I know where I'm going, but I don't know the exact path there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So there's some like real like emotional high points and low points of the story. I have those mapped out, and I've kind of like they're vivid in my head, and I'm like I really want to get to them, and I want to get there as fast as I organically can, so it's not boring. So that's kind of what the whole thing is sort of built around those moments. They could be several. They usually are.
That's awesome. So where do you feel like you find your most inspiration from? Where do you feel the most inspired, I guess, is what I'm asking.
Well, with this last book, it's definitely been the traveling that we did, because we went to Istanbul last year, and that was my favorite 4 days out of the whole year. That was just incredible. It feeds your senses in a kind of way that nothing else does. Yeah, I originally got really excited about Turkey and Istanbul through watching the Turkish TV shows. So I think having that as a sort of background when we traveled there, that kind of you start recognizing places and they connect to these storylines and things that you see, and that's definitely part of the magic, I'd say. And then another one that's always part of it is music. My husband's a very he's the one sourcing all the he introduces me to new bands and musicians all the time. So I hear a lot of new music and I get excited about new artists. And in Istanbul, we went to see Charlie Cunningham, and it was incredible. It was the only gig he had within the next 4 months. And we're like, if we go to Istanbul, we can actually see him live. And we were in Finland, so it was kind of doable. And that's how I got my husband to actually join me on that trip, because otherwise he would have been like, Turkey, and he's not that into these the Turkish TV shows. So I convinced him with that gig, and I have to say that that gig was so good. It was like near religious experience. It was just so profound. Awesome. He's just so good live, and he's some people are just so talented as well. You're just in awe. You just sit there kind of and I also ran into a Turkish artist who now I think is back in New York, where she's lived for 9 years. So her
Okay.
English was impeccable, and I got to talk to her about Turkish culture, and that was like that was such a gift, like amazing.
Hmm.
Just that insight. And it is hard to find people who can really have deep conversations with you in English. Like they would struggle because my
Hmm.
Turkish is non-existent. So there's a real language barrier there. But yeah, finding someone who you can really talk to about that stuff was, so obviously I got her details, and I I kept bugging her for weeks and months after. Had a long video call after, so she was helping me with the book. That was amazing.
That's awesome,
Very
though. I
cool.
mean, making friends like that you can use and, use to write your book or just even other things in general in life that you can just have those kind of friends that you make that you may never have, met her if you weren't in
Yeah,
that situation that you got to
that's
go.
my favorite kind of research. Like seriously, using people and friendships, connections. Just lots of people are happy to talk about something that they know about. So
Mhm.
I often find that I get excited about someone's background. Like I had a friend who's a politician here, and he offered to take us around the parliament, to give us a tour, like a private tour, when no one else was there. And I thought, well, that's exciting. And I ended up writing a book with a politician main character because I had this easy access and this opportunity to ask these really weird questions. And he did look at me a few times, and I'm like, what if someone was to like pass out in these toilets and then press this button? Like, what would happen? And then what would happen if like there was a lot? Yeah, he's like, oh yeah.
What are you trying to ask me right now?
Yeah. So yeah, I went through all these scenarios, some political scandals and things like that. It's like, what if this happened? And what if? And yeah, he was very patient with me, but yeah, that's my favorite research, like going somewhere, talking to someone and absorbing it. And so I'm so lazy that I will like pick people from my circles, whoever is close enough and like accessible enough, that I will just go to them and like, I'm really interested in what you're doing and can I interview? And I just, so I end up kind of choosing the topics from those. I don't just go like randomly Google about stuff.
Mhm.
Sometimes I do if I have to, but it's really fun to be inspired by other people and their stories.
That's awesome. Do you feel like when you're writing, do you prefer to write at home, or since you enjoy traveling and meeting people, do you prefer to write in other places?
I will honestly write anywhere that I can physically do it. I have 2 kids, and it's, yeah, when we were living in a camper van, it's just, you just do whatever you can. It's pretty hard to hide from them sometimes. I've written Once I sat in our car. It was pretty cold outside, and I just sat there for, I don't know how long it took, but somehow I got like 7,000 words down that day. So I must have written most of them in the car, like cramped in there.
That's incredible.
So yeah, there's nothing glamorous about this at all. And sometimes I hide in the bathroom.
Wherever you can make it work, hey, it's
Just like sneak out with my laptop. Yeah.
that's awesome.
If there's no
So
internet, even better, because then I'm not distracted by other stuff.
that's awesome. So you have written multiple books. So I know this is a hard question to ask authors, but it's one of my favorite questions. Do you have a favorite book? I know it's kind of like picking children, but do you have a favorite?
I have like favorite moments from books and that kind of things, and favorite characters maybe. But I'm yeah, like most people, I go with the new and shiny, and it's always like the latest one that I worked with that's taken up most real estate in my head and lives there rent free. So yeah, it's really hard. Like when I start writing a new book, it kind of gradually wipes the previous one,
Mhm.
and like my brain starts categorizing that into like, you know, stuff that's gone and bye bye. And I'm not a I'm not a past oriented person. Like some people really remember everything that happened to them, and they kind of like going over past events and really like live in that kind of way. And I'm more future oriented, if that makes sense. So I'm kind of I I tend to forget and just yeah.
You don't like to dwell on
It's
the past.
terrible. I forget my own books.
You don't like to dwell on the past. You like to live in the present and look towards the future. I think that's totally normal. I think that's totally normal. So we'll say,
and I think there's just not enough brain capacity to hold everything. So that's it.
all right. Well, we'll say for then that this is your favorite. My Lucky Star is your
This is
favorite.
I'm already writing the next one, so that's like gradually being.
So is this one already in the swipe? Is this one already out of the brain too?
It's phasing out now.
Awesome. So you said that you have maybe some favorite characters. So can you list maybe a few of your favorite characters from some of your books? If you have to pick those, then is that a little bit of an easier question?
Maybe there's some characters that you really that stay with you. I'd say Easy Isaiah. He's the hero of Night and Day. He's because he's a filmmaker and plays the guitar, and there's all this like artsy vibe around him that's just and he's the sort of quiet, reserved, gentle giant who's very, very generous, and he's a solid hero.
Awesome.
He's well worth meeting.
Awesome. All right. I'm going to have to jump into that one. That's going to have to be one of my next reads then, because I have not had the pleasure yet of meeting Izzy. So I guess I know what I need to pick up next. I know what my next book needs to be. All right. This is another fun thing that I like to do in all of them. We don't have to do all of your books. We can start with My Lucky Star. And then if you want to add a few others, we could do that. But if you could describe this book in one word, what would your word be to describe this book?
I'm gonna go with escapism.
Okay.
That's my
I like it.
Yeah, I like the word wanderlust as well, but I think it's not just the travel. That's not like it's a huge part of it, but it's not a travelogue, and I think escapism for me is like when you get to also fall in love and have that like emotional experience, and it's fun to travel, but add that like falling in love in there, and that's the full package for me.
Something magical. Do you want to do any of your other ones, or do you want to just? It's up to you. It can be a little bit of a challenge. I know we can do a few more.
Yeah, I've kind of. If I had to sum up, if I had to sum up Night and Day, that would probably be the wanderlust. Then, like that's there's more of a component of that in there, like, and that sort of, and Finland features as well. It's because the whole premise of Mia is the traveler going around the world, and she gets stuck in New Zealand, 10,000 miles from home, kind of gets robbed right on arrival, has nothing. It's that whole like, your horror scenario if you're traveling by yourself and you don't have your passport, your phone, nothing, and only remember like one person you once worked with online and know their name and their company name, and that's it, and try to contact them, and that this guy turns up. It's just it's like could technically happen on your travels. It probably wouldn't have such a happy ending, but I know.
Hey, anything can be possible. So, what is one of your favorite things to do besides traveling? Or you can, I guess you can say traveling too if you are. When you're not writing, what is one of your favorite things to do?
When I'm not writing,
Yes.
Sounds like I'm really a singularly focused person now. Hmm. Because when I'm not writing, I'm like dreaming about. It's terrible. Uh, I'm also a graphic designer, and I do a lot of that sort of work. I do a lot of book covers. I do other kind of design work. So I do enjoy that side of my life. I enjoy going, like now I enjoy going to the office because we have a little office space in the city, kind of, and working with somebody else. I have a business partner that I'm working with, and that's something that I really, really cherish. And I know it's like you probably didn't ask about work, but I'm just not the kind of person who has hobbies. I'm someone who takes up something and then like devotes their whole entire being to it.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of, I don't, it's hard for me to do anything on that sort of casual, I just enjoy it sometimes basis. So for some reason, I'm like all or nothing kind of
Mm-hmm.
crazy lady. So I do, I do enjoy design work and working with someone else because writing a book is very solitary. Just you're in your own head, and sometimes it's not wise to spend too long in there. Like, don't get lost
Mm-hmm.
in that labyrinth. So having that sort of human connection, working with someone on creative projects and like sharing the highs and lows and what is, you know, the very unique and wonderful clients we have and their unique quirks and all that. It's like that's a fun thing to kind of,
Yeah.
for me, yeah. So I'm
So
very, very blessed that I have this sort of, I get to enjoy what I do. That's, yeah.
that's awesome. So do you design your own covers then for your books?
Yes, I do. And some other people's covers as well. Quite a few, actually.
That's awesome. I love that. Do you have a favorite cover maybe that you've designed of another book series or that just immediately comes to mind
Mm.
or not off the top of your head?
I love Erin's covers. You've interviewed Erin, and yeah, I'm sure people have seen her covers on your posts as well. They are, yeah, they're classic rom-com covers, but we put a lot of effort into her um, characters and getting those just right, and that's sort of my specialty. That's the one thing I'm really obsessed over is like making the little vector people actually have personality and, you know, be attractive, and so you can kind of like you can have a like some people say they like crushing on a vector character that I drew, which is a real great compliment. And that's like because I really focus on that. I it doesn't it's not enough that it just looks like a person, or it's not like you have to take it to the next level when it's like, oh, that guy's hot, like he's vector, but I so yeah, that's my my one fun little obsession on the side is like drawing these characters for
That's
authors.
awesome. So I have one more question before we'll kind of wrap everything up. If you could write in a genre that wasn't the one that you were currently writing right now, what genre would you decide to write in?
Ooh, I've actually written quite a bit of sort of thriller and paranormal stuff before I started writing romance, but it was all like um, screenplay format, and because I have a film degree, and that's how I kind of ended up writing books. So there's always part of me that wants to do that, and there are some. Um, there's an old TV pilot that I really want to turn into a book one day. So that will definitely not be romance. It'll be pretty dark, paranormal, sort of afterlife. Yeah, it's a yeah.
That's cool though.
And it's actually a book that in this book, the character, the filmmaker Izzy, is working on a film that is like a carbon copy of the one that I wrote long time ago. So I used it as sort of like something that he wrote, and I've been kind of like joking to myself that I need to publish that, so it's like a book within a book.
Yeah.
I publish it under the name of that character. So you can find it. I was like, I don't know if anyone can follow my logic. Like, what's wrong with you, lady? But hey, why not? Like, why can't there be a book inside a book?
There could totally be a book inside of a book. I think it would also just be cool in general if you ever did decide to write in a different genre. I think your readers would love to follow you through anything and, understand that it's different. But if people like,
Yeah,
the writing style and everything, I think they would I would read a thriller. I love thrillers.
there you go. We should do it then. Yeah, I'm just in this like romance mindset. I think every time I pick up something, I'm like, "Ooh, I really feel like writing romance," and then I end up just doing more. It's terrible.
That's awesome. Well, your newest romance book that you did write, we'll kind of wrap things up here again for people, is My Lucky Star. So tell people when they can get this and then how they can stay plugged into you. Oh, see, we both have their how they can stay plugged into you and all the stuff that's going on in your world. And as you said, you're writing more books, so how they can kind of just keep connected to everything that's happening in your life.
Yes, you can find me online. My handle on all the platforms, I'm most active on Instagram and TikTok at the moment, is Enni Author. So ENNI author. Just trying to, I think my Enni Amanda was taken. So there's some kind of bodybuilder woman who does it. Like, so I was like, I can't compete with that lady. So hey, you do that and I'll just be the Enni author. So, and also I have a website, which is just enniamanda.com. And you'll find the links in there as well.
Perfect. And they can get My Lucky Stars available this week. Tell everyone kind of where they can, the day that it comes out, and then where they can find it once it is officially released.
It is officially released on 15th of June. So that's when it will be on KU, Amazon, and later on I am going wide. So grab it while it's hot and still there for, I think it's a 90-day term that you have to do on KU, which I signed up for a long time ago and then forgot that I was going wide. So most of the other books have unfortunately left KU. I think Night and Day is actually there still till June 28th. So yeah, you can grab that one. But yeah, just Amazon, and later on they'll be on all the platforms because I do love being white. I used to be white. I went on KU because we were traveling and I couldn't handle the like logistics of all of it. But now I'm trying to go back to where people can find me on all the platforms. All the paperbacks are white anyway. They are on Barnes & Noble website and obviously on Amazon. And Amazon also has the hardcover, which I don't have a copy of. I would love to show it to you because it's gorgeous, even if I say so myself. But Amazon doesn't deliver hardback books to New Zealand at all. So that's a bummer. But yeah, I've ordered some from Ingram and they're not here yet and it takes ages. Again, I think they come from somewhere in America, but at least they ship it to New Zealand. So hopefully one day.
That's really nice. Well, I can't wait to have this officially be published. It will be on Friday here for us on the 15th. So I'm so excited about that. And thank you so much for, again, just coming on here and being willing to talk to me today. It was so much fun having you on here.
Thank you.
And you guys, remember, you need to subscribe to me if you want to continue to see more fun author content on here. We'll have more fun and exciting authors lined up for you guys. And again, thank you, Enni. It was so fun. And until next time, everybody.
Yay. Thank you.